Picture this. You push a commit, and your tests, your review, even your deployment are not done by a human team. They are done end to end by AI agents, spinning up their own runtimes, running your code, fixing bugs, and shipping to production while you watch. Now, imagine that the company behind one of the most powerful coding models on the planet also owns the engine where that code actually runs. That is what just happened when Anthropic quietly acquired the Bun JavaScript runtime. On a random morning, JavaScript developers woke up to a double shock. Two blog posts dropped at the same time, one on anthropic.com, one on bun.com, announcing that Bun, the blazing fast JavaScript runtime, is now part of Anthropic. No leaks, no slow rumor cycle, just a pair of URLs that rewired how people think about AI tools and runtimes. And here is the twist that matters for you as a developer. This was not a vanity purchase. It was Anthropic quietly wiring its AI brain directly into the metal where your code runs. Bun did not frame this as a celebration tour. Their post went straight to architecture, pointing out that Bun already sits underneath Claude Code, Factory AI, Open Code, and a growing list of AI-powered dev tools. Then came the line that landed like a thesis for the next decade of programming. Anthropic is betting on Bun as the infrastructure powering Claude Code, the Claude Agent software development kit, and future AI coding products. In a minute, we will unpack why that single sentence quietly turns Bun from a fast node alternative into the backbone of Anthropic's entire coding stack. To understand how big this is, you need to know what Bun actually is. It is not a sidecar tool. Bun is a full JavaScript runtime, a test runner, a bundler, and a package manager with millions of monthly downloads and open ambitions to replace Node.js as the default server-side runtime. When an AI safety and research company suddenly owns that layer, they do not just ship models and pretty integrated development environment extensions anymore. They now control the environment where AI-generated code is executed, tested, and deployed. This is what vertical integration looks like in the AI era. Old-school telecom giants owned the wires, the switches, and the phones. Anthropic now owns the model, the coding tool, and the runtime. Most rivals are still stitching together borrowed parts. GitHub Copilot runs on OpenAI models and depends on runtimes like Node or Dino that Microsoft does not fully control. OpenAI itself leans on partners like Cursor, Visual Studio Code, JetBrains, and browser sandboxes to actually run the code its models write. Anthropic just carved out a clean vertical slice from token to system call. Here is why Anthropic could justify buying an entire runtime. Claude Code hit a $1 billion run rate in roughly 6 months. That puts it in the club of the fastest growing enterprise software products ever, and it is backed by real contracts with companies like Netflix, Spotify, and Salesforce. These are not weekend experiments. These are core continuous integration pipelines, test harnesses, and deployment flows that move real revenue. If you are Anthropic, you cannot let that profit engine rest on a runtime whose roadmap you do not control and whose performance regressions you cannot veto. Bun's performance story made this move almost inevitable. It is written in the Zig language, built on a highly optimized JavaScript core engine, and bundles a fast package manager and test runner into one binary. In many benchmarks, it simply runs circles around Node. For Claude Code, that translated into faster startup, smaller memory footprints, and cheaper per-token execution. When your AI agent is spinning up sandboxes and running code dozens of times per minute, every millisecond and every megabyte turn directly into cloud bills and user experience. But here's the part nobody expected. Owning the runtime lets Anthropic build features that are almost impossible if you live on Node or Dino. Think about sandboxed, per-request ephemeral dev environments that AI agents can spin up and tear down on demand. Deterministic replay of executions tied to specific model prompts. Deep tracing that streams back into Claude so it can literally watch its own code run and self-debug. To do that, the model cannot just be another process. It has to be treated as a first-class participant in the scheduler itself. Jared Sumner, Bun's founder, has been building like someone who expects that humans will not hand-type most production code for much longer. In his post about joining Anthropic, he basically says the quiet part out loud. If most new code is going to be written, tested, and deployed by AI agents, then the runtime stops being boring plumbing. It becomes the control surface. Bun's single-file executables, fast startup, and node compatibility suddenly look less like nice developer experience and more like the chassis for fleets of autonomous coding agents. There is also a very human angle here. Bun raised around $26 million, hit over 7 million monthly downloads, and still had almost zero revenue. The big question was always, how does a free MIT licensed runtime become a sustainable business? Anthropic answered that by turning Bun into an internal engine instead of a standalone company. Sumner even says that joining Anthropic lets people bet their stack safely on Bun because the existential "how does this make money" cloud is gone. In other words, the business model is now Claude Code's billion-dollar run rate. Of course, whenever an open source project gets acquired, trust becomes the real currency. Bun stays MIT licensed, the code remains on GitHub, and the same core team keeps shipping. That is the promise. But Anthropic now has a billion-dollar incentive to optimize Bun for its own stack first. Skeptics are not just afraid of a sudden license change. They worry about the slow gravitational pull, where roadmap decisions, performance work, and new APIs quietly tilt toward Claude Code, the Claude Agent software development kit, and future Anthropic tools. There is already evidence of that steering power. Sumner admits the team has been triaging issues from the Claude Code team first. That made sense even before the deal. Now those workloads are tied to a product line generating $1 billion in annualized revenue. You can guess which tickets get priority. This does not automatically hurt the wider ecosystem. If Anthropic needs Bun to be faster, smaller, and more predictable for AI agents, every JavaScript developer benefits. But control over the GitHub organization, the release cadence, and major architectural bets now sits in one corporate office. So why is Bun such a perfect fit for an AI-first future? Start with speed. AI coding agents generate, run, and discard code at machine timescales. Bun's cold start times, often in tens of milliseconds instead of hundreds, mean agents can spawn short-lived processes to test snippets, run linters, or execute migrations without paying a heavy startup tax. Then there are single-file executables, which let Bun compile your project, dependencies, and runtime into one binary. That is ideal for shipping self-contained command line tools, sidecar services, or ephemeral worker processes that AI agents can spin up by the thousands. High node compatibility closes the loop. Teams can often point existing node-based tools at Bun and get immediate gains in startup time and memory usage. That makes it far easier for enterprises to experiment without rewriting everything from scratch. For Anthropic, it means Claude Code can operate across a massive existing JavaScript ecosystem while still enjoying a runtime tuned in lockstep with its needs. Remember, the Bun team was already prioritizing Claude Code issues. Now that feedback loop is official, and the runtime can evolve hand in hand with Anthropic's AI agents. So what does this mean for you right now? If you are a JavaScript developer, the upside is obvious. A runtime that is faster, more integrated, and funded by a serious balance sheet is good news. But the lock-in question just got sharper. If you bet your stack on Bun, you are also indirectly betting on Anthropic's vision for AI coding. That could mean tighter integration with Claude, smoother AI workflows, and better performance. It could also mean that future priorities tilt toward AI agents first, human developers second. Zoom out, and the stakes are even bigger. This deal says out loud what many companies have been quietly planning. Most new code will flow through AI-first pipelines. AI will own more of the keyboard, and humans will move up a layer, designing systems, reviewing intent, and supervising agents instead of writing every line. In that world, whoever owns the runtime that AI agents use becomes a gatekeeper for how fast software gets built, how it is tested, and how safely it runs. The AI coding wars just went nuclear, not because of a new model, but because of who owns the plumbing. Anthropic now has a vertically integrated stack from Claude models to Claude Code, down to Bun as the execution substrate. Microsoft and OpenAI still rely on a patchwork of runtimes and editors they do not fully control. That difference will shape which features ship first, how fast agents can iterate, and even which ecosystems feel smooth versus clunky. The question is no longer just whose model is smarter. It is whose stack is tighter. If you are deciding whether to bet your stack on Bun today, here's a practical way to think about it. For greenfield projects and internal tools, Bun is suddenly a much safer bet than a scrappy startup runtime. It has deep funding, a clear role inside Anthropic, and a roadmap tied to real, high-value workloads. For mission-critical systems, you still need to weigh the risk of tighter Anthropic alignment against the performance gains. But ignoring Bun now is like ignoring Node in its early days, right as it started to power real production apps. We are heading toward a future where code is written, tested, and deployed by AI, with humans supervising the system, not the syntax. Anthropic's acquisition of Bun is a signal flare for that world. It is a bet that the real leverage is not just in smarter models, but in owning the entire pipeline from request to generation to execution. If you want to stay relevant as a developer, you need to understand not just how to prompt a model, but how these vertically integrated stacks shape what that model can actually do. So I want to hear from you. Would you trust your production workloads to a runtime owned by an AI lab? Are you excited about the performance and the tight AI integration, or worried about lock-in and corporate control over open source infrastructure? Drop your thoughts and your stack choices in the comments. And if you want a deep dive next on how to actually architect AI first dev pipelines on top of Bun and Claude Code, hit subscribe so you do not miss it. This story is moving fast, and the next runtime decision you make might outlast your current job.